budget. Under the budget, I will eliminate government waste by instructing a citywide audit of every city agency, social service program, office and offices that are receiving contracts and funding from city government in efforts to remove redundant programs and overstaffed positions. The citywide audits will begin with the Human Resources Administration, which is the number one agency with subcontracts that are overstaffed and it is redundant and riddled with government waste. Additionally, I will overhaul the social programs to include rental assistance programs with City FEPS, Section 8 and Section 9 to ensure that each recipient is directly receiving his or her benefits through direct deposit. It is the same as with SNAP or EBT, Social Security, retirement, pensions, veterans benefits, paychecks, and etc. The rental assistance program overhauled will include cost of living increases, and the recipients can live anywhere in the United States. The assistance amount will not change except for the cost of living increases. For example, if you are receiving $1,500 in rental assistance and you find an apartment that is $1,000, you will continue to receive the $1,500. If you are receiving $1,500 in rental assistance and you find an apartment that is $2,000, you will continue to receive the $1,500 and you will be responsible for the remaining $500 balance. I will also require permanent and exclusive housing for the mentally ill. This is permanent housing, so this is their home. This is where they will remain. It's a permanent housing if they were referred by board certified and licensed mental health professionals, or if they have received a letter, a mentally disordered. An individual, for example, receives a mentally disordered letter from a judge, signed by a judge, and they do not have family in the communities or do not have support from their communities or family members, they will be required to live in the permanent housing for the mentally ill. Additionally, if an individual who has support from the community or their family and they receive a letter, a mentally disordered letter from a judge, signed by a judge, they too will have to go and live in the permanent housing for the mentally ill. The permanent housing will be staffed to ensure that they cannot leave the premises unless they are regularly taking their scheduled medications, attending all medical appointments, and attending their counseling and therapy sessions. The electronic attendance schedule will be in place. It will show the nurses and the doctors will have to include or enter in if they are attending their medical appointments. They will have to enter in electronically if they are attending their counseling and therapy sessions, and they will have to enter in electronically if they are arriving at the 24-hour medical dispensary to receive their medications. The 24-hour medical dispensary will be managed by the nurses. There will be a round-the-clock nurse there to manage the medical dispensary. And the residents are not permitted to keep their medication in their apartments with them. They will have to have all their medication in the dispensary. Each of the permanent housing buildings will have fully equipped medical clinic, cafeteria, entertainment areas, visiting areas, and again, the 24-hour dispensary with a nurse on site to dispense all scheduled medications to the residents. Medical doctors, mental health professionals, and members of the clergy will be on site to give appointments, to take care of the medical needs, provide mental health counseling sessions for those who refuse to take their medication. By law, you cannot require a person to take their medication. However, you can say that you cannot leave the premises if you do not. If you do not take your medication, if you do not go to your counseling and therapy sessions, and if you do not go to your medical appointments. The security guards, nurses, and doctors are the ones who can issue a red light. Red light means that this individual has not taken their medication, this individual has not attended their medical appointments, this individual does not attend their counseling and therapy sessions. Also, the doctors and the nurses can also doing everything that they're supposed to do. They will get a green light, and the green light says that they can leave the premises. If they choose not to, they will have a social worker that will be assigned to them to shop, make purchases, run errands, and take care of any other needs that the resident have for those who are unwilling to fulfill the requirements in order to exit the premises. If an individual has been given a green light to leave the premises and they do leave and they have not been taking their medication, they have not attended their uh, counseling and therapy sessions, and they have not taken their medication or attended their medical appointments, and they get a green light, pardon me, from a doctor or a nurse or a security guard, and they get this green light and they go out and they pose a harm to themselves or to others, the doctor, the nurse, or the security guard, we will go through the footage and see who gave the green light or who allowed them to leave, who met, and that person will face charges. I do this because I've heard of the Kendra Webdale individual. This woman was pushed onto the subway tracks by someone who had severe mental illness diagnoses. She is the woman behind Kendra's Law. Also, Michelle Go, who was pushed onto subway tracks, the Holocaust survivor who lived in this building and in this apartment prior to my moving in, who was bludgeoned to death by the next door neighbor who is still here, Riley Goodwich, and Anthony Berajaz. Pardon my mispronunciation. Riley and Anthony was shot while watching a movie in a movie theater in California. The reason why I say security guards will face charges too is that in this building here, the Holocaust survivor who was bludgeoned to death and her round the clock nurses were attacked periodically, plus the Holocaust survivor, she was attacked periodically too. The security guard on duty watched these actions take place on the cameras in this building. It is fully it's closed caption. Every floor, every stairwell, the elevator, and every door, every apartment door in this building has a camera position on it, so they can see who's coming, who's going, and see the actions and the behaviors of the people in this building. This building has a program in it, and it also has mixed bag housing. And the mixed bag housing is that building who are from the community, such as myself, and people who are here who have severe mental illness diagnoses, people who are severely disabled. And they placed a program in this building to meet the needs and services of those who have severe mental illness diagnoses, and to meet the needs of those who are severely physically disabled. And the security guard watched the behavior of her with the Holocaust survivor and her round-the-clock nurses, watched the behavior of her, and when they did, pardon me, the light has gone out, when they watched the behavior of her, he refused to call the police, even though the Holocaust survivor called the police in the past. He refused to call the police. He refused to show the footage to the police. He also refused to ensure, to let the police know that these things are really happening. The police arrived 30 plus times, because the police were called by the Holocaust survivor and her round-the-clock nurses. The police were called 30 plus times, and each time the police after a period of time, they grew tired of responding, so they told the Holocaust survivor and her nurses to ignore her. Then they told them that, because she wouldn't answer the door, there were times when the police were called that she would leave to another area in the building and wait till the police would leave. So they would tell her that there's no one there, that this is a ghost. You're looking at a ghost. No one is there. This person doesn't exist, because she never answered the door, and they never saw her on camera because the security guard refused to show them the camera footage to show that she is indeed there and she is attacking them. So this ended up costing this lady her life. And I learned this information because when I moved into this building about approximately 10 years ago, I met a lady named Francine Kushner. Francine Kushner died in 2019. She passed away, but we became good friends when she met me in this building. She met me while I was moving in. She introduced herself. She was very friendly, and Francine knew everybody in this building, and she knew everybody's business. So when she would stop by and she would chit chat with me, she told me the things that were going on with the lady who lives next door, and how she would attack the Holocaust survivor, how she would attack the nurses. One nurse, she attacked her and she stabbed her in the back of the neck. You know, she stabbed her in the neck as she was coming in. So eventually, fast forward, she watched to ensure, watched the schedule of the nurses. And when she did, when one of the nurses, during the change out of the nurses, on one going on shift, one going off, during that time period, she came in and she beat her to death. And I use this information to instruct and to ensure that there will be permanent housing for the mentally ill, to ensure that these people are not able to be about in the community if they're not taking their medication, if they're not going to their medical appointments, and if they are not going to their counseling and therapy sessions.